Hello, everyone. Welcome to the five-star Joshi show here on the Fight Game Media Network. I'm your host, as always, Scott Edwards. And as you can see here today, we got a special panel here to preview the Dream Star Grand Prix of Marigold. First up, of course, Jamie Ross. Welcome back to the show. How are you today, sir?
I'm feeling good, feeling good. It's always great to be back on the five-star Joshi show, but even better when we're talking about the Golden Gardens of Marigold, and that's what we're locked into today. So I'm feeling well up for it. We've got a big lineup, of course. Break down that Dream Star Grand Prix, the blocks, and all the stuff to come. So I'm fired up, ready to get into it.
Yeah, I think the Golden Gardens are, a lot of people's safe space these days. It's just like,
For sure.
all right, let's watch some wrestling. Let's have a good time here. And Xavi, welcome back to
Hmm.
the show as well.
Yeah.
I made a promise to you. I'd have you on to preview this tournament, and here we are. So welcome back.
Yeah. Although I think I vividly said, "Hey, Scott, I'm coming on to do the Dream Star." By the way,
Yeah, you did say that.
I'm feeling good. Inside baseball, I originally supposed to do a back-to-back of previewing the Dream Star. I was supposed to do Stardom Quest before this, but Alex decided to go to England and his bus fucked up, so like the times just didn't align. So I got all my ideas fresh, so that's good.
Good.
I'm excited, man.
Good. I called first dibs on your thoughts anyway, so this worked out. But I'm very happy to have you both on here for the first time together. Obviously, we're gonna have a fun time talking about the Dream Star, a 16-person, two-block tournament, and I quote, none of that four-block stuff. I'm
Should
very
have did
excited.
6 blocks. That would have been.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I needed. But I'm very excited for this tournament. Obviously, it starts on Saturday. It's just pretty much for the month of September, which is very exciting. Something to look forward to. Away from all the other tournaments in wrestling, right? The five-star ends Saturday, the N1 ends Sunday. So this is pretty much the tournament to focus on for an entire month if you're a Japanese wrestling fan. And I know both of you, like myself, are big Marigold fans, and this is their first crack at doing this. And I think the way I'm going into this tournament, and I'll ask you both this is going to be a lot about growth for a lot of these wrestlers. Obviously, you're going to have the Utamis and the Sarees carrying and driving the force on each block, but you're going to have the likes of Koki Amare and Chika Goto and Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki that you're looking forward to seeing how much do they grow from start to finish, right? How does a Kazuna do against the Saris and Mikuanos and the Nais from start to finish? And that's what I'm most looking forward to. And I think overall, this is as exciting of a first tournament as Marigold could probably have, right? You have the addition of Sareee, which, I think just based on her schedule, most of the time you never really know. She has a packed September, right? She doesn't
Mhm.
kick off her tournament until the second weekend, but she has the Mayu Utani tag match. She has an Unagi Sayaka defense for Seedling, and then she, of course, has 7 tournament matches. So I'll start with you, Jamie. How are you looking at this tournament as we head into the first ever Dream Star Grand Prix?
Very, very excited. I'm kind of in the same sort of mindset as yourself in terms of looking to see that growth from a lot of wrestlers. We've seen before in these types of round robin tournaments the five stars and the G1s where wrestlers have kind of progressed. I think of like Amina Shirakawa, for example, kind of transformed as a wrestler during a five-star Grand Prix, and we know the sort of level that she's at now. And you point out the likes of the Kokis and the Chikagotos. I think they're definitely ones to circle during this. But there's a lot of quality in the two block lineups. A lot of potential to tap into. Even someone the likes of a Mai Sakurai, who's obviously been wrestling now
Yeah.
for a handful of years, but she's in a really good moment. And I think if she can kind of capitalize on that momentum and have a really good Dream Star tournament, then I think Marigold are going to hopefully come out of this with a lot more star power on their hands.
Yeah, I'm unbelievably locked into a My Sakurai run here.
Mm-hmm.
More than I ever expected going into a tournament. She missed the five-star last year. Obviously, she took her vacation. And I think she legitimately went on vacation. But now she enters this tournament coming off the heels of the Julia stuff, coming off the heels of a great tag defense. this, she starts her opening night with Nanai, and I couldn't be more excited for that match after
Mhm.
they did in that tag match. So it's pretty insane, like the stock of some of these wrestlers and how high it's gone over the past couple months. Xavi, how are you feeling about this tournament as we head into it?
That's a lot. Basically, just echoing what y'all said. I'm also just looking for the growth of a lot of the. I don't want to say lesser names because I mean, people like Miku Ano, who's a champion, but like people who weren't prevalent in the traditional Joshi sphere before this year. With the
Yeah.
actress girls leaving and all that. I'm looking to see what they can do in this tournament setting. It's scary for some, obviously. Scott, you know which person I'm scared for as far as seeing how her tournament goes in one block, especially after I just praised her recent title challenge. It would be very scary to see her fall off. But I do have my worries. I'm looking to see. I'm looking to see something out of one person specifically because I think she's been good, but I don't think she's been afforded the opportunities that some of her contemporaries have been, and that's Chiaki. She's got a block where she's got a lot of big names. She's got Mika Ono, she's got Sareee, she's got Nanai, of course, she's got Bozilla. She's got a lot of chances for her to truly show out in a single setting. Everything I've seen from her in a tag setting and anything she's done so far has just been tremendous. But I was still waiting for her to get that chance that, like I said, a lot of her contemporaries have gotten that she hasn't been afforded yet. I'm also looking forward. It's something I said for months whenever or however many weeks it was when the field was announced. The Nozaki Nutami face off because I think this is where Nozaki's finally going to flip that switch because now it's something for her to actually care and sink her teeth into. So I'm looking forward to her run, seeing what she does in the setting.
Yeah, it was over the weekend that Nagisa got her first shot at Utami, and you just saw like a different version of her since, based off of what we have seen. I'm very excited for Chiaki. Chiaki's got the fresh Kagetsu style cut now,
Yeah.
so it's kind of over for everyone
It's
else. It's like I saw that, I was like, oh, Chiaki's ready. Okay, here we go. But let's dive into the blocks here. We kind of started talking about everyone. We'll start with the Dream League. Sorry, they're leagues, not blocks. But the Dream League is pretty stacked at the top, obviously. You have the top two in the company in terms of signed talent with Utami and Mirai. Then you have the Superfly champion, Natsumi Shizuki, whose tournament I'm very excited for, Koki Amari, Chika Goto, Victoria Izuki, Nagisa Nozaki, and of course LLPWX's Nori, who enters the fray here. In terms of this block, I've seen a lot of people say that the Star League is actually the more packed one. Obviously, it has Sareee and Miku Ano, the top two champions, so can't really argue there. But I look at the Dream League, and I get very, very pumped about what this is bringing to the table. I don't think there's a weak spot here, and I think like for those that are coming into Marigold probably via the tournament, right? For a lot of people, that's how they dive in to new companies. They're gonna learn like how sick Nori is, and it's gonna be like, wow, this is my new favorite wrestler. And then when the league, when the tournament's over, you're like, oh, I
You won't see
can't
her for
see
like
her
a
ever
couple
again.
months.
Yeah, I may not see her ever again, but I think like when I look at these matchups, there's a lot of exciting matchups here. So let's go around the table here. Who are you most excited for in the Dream League? Savia, we'll start with you.
Obviously, I'm always going to be excited for the best wrestler in the company's Dream League. Of course, that being Chika Goto, Go Chika. She's gonna just walk through everybody, go undefeated, beat Sareee for the belt, and we're gonna enter a golden era for Joshi, and it's gonna be great. However, there's a lot of names like this. The Dream League personally is my favorite of the two, just because of course Chika Goto is my favorite, and then Shizuki's like my second favorite, and just because I think there's more of a chance for disaster in the Star League as far as
Sure.
for some people's inconsistencies. I think this Dream League is a very consistent block. The only person that does worry me is Koki, because out of like everybody, she's probably the one I'm least high on. But I did think her and Miku was really good. So if she can do more of that, I think that's going to be good for her. But I am worried about her in a round robin setting. but we'll see. I'm open to it. I also like this block for Yuzuki, especially just with all these people involved. Like her versus Utami is going to be really special. She's got her rival in here. I think she's going to be a real sleeper that people should probably be looking forward to. And Shozuki's another one. She's I don't want to say the most underrated wrestler in Marigold, but I don't think the general fan base understands just how good she actually is, especially if they're not watching like the house shows. She's just so absurdly good that out of everybody in the tournament, I think she's probably going to be the one with the least amount of flaws. I think she's going to be the easiest one to have a good to great match with out of everybody involved. But that's just me personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with Shozuki, who I think is my pick is like most interesting, is she works well with all these people because obviously she has the advantage with the actress girls, right? Like they have a connection that we've seen in their matches that, both Gochika and Koki are comfortable with her and you see the best out of them against her. So I think that's a benefit. I look at Nori versus Natsumi Shizuki as like, okay, this match, this is the match for the people that know, like you just look at it, you're like, we know how great this can be. And I would love to see Nori beat Shozuki. Listen, we're just going to make up rules for the Superfly belt. I've decided. That's what I've decided. I don't know what they're going to do, but I've decided we're making up rules. And I think Nori should just be a challenger for that belt because I want more of them. I can already feel they're going to click. But of course, like for me, my most anticipated is Utami. I'm not going to just sit here and like make it difficult. Utami has been quietly just great for Marigold, right? In a way that's like odd. It's odd that she's been quietly great.
I don't know if it's quiet because something that me and you have talked about is just like that period where she had to miss because she was in the hospital. It was very much felt on like the shows that she missed. Like it was her presence not being there was so glaring, and that's saying something, especially because Julia was on that show, on those shows. And it's just like, man, this show really misses Utami's presence just in some form.
Yeah, I think when I mean quiet, it's like she's not in the title picture. So it's like you almost think she's just kind of like missing at times. But it's like, okay, she had the unbelievable match with Io. She had the unbelievable match with Nanai, right? Like she's got, and then she had the opening tag of the entire company in the main event. And, everyone looks at Utami. It's like, oh, the matches we want to see the most are with Sareee and Miku Ano. Well, that's fine and all. They're saving those very, very clearly. That's a potential final. I think we could get one of those as well. But when you look at Utami, I think the beauty of her tournament is she's going to go in there with the Kokis and the Gochikas, and she's going to absolutely shine with them because I think she's the perfect wrestler for their styles. And then, of course, like her and Mirai's the biggest match that isn't the champions facing each other in this tournament. So it should be really great there. And like you said earlier, her and Nozaki, like I think that's going to be awesome. And her and Yuzuki going to be special. Like that's my point with Utami. She's just a special wrestler who I think can be an MVP candidate that we just don't look at because, we're thinking of the excitement of a Shozuki, the excitement of obviously Sareee being in this damn tournament. Like we can't count out the best wrestler in the world as the MVP. Jamie, who are you feeling in the Dream Star Dream League here?
It's a very strong lineup, so it's tough to kind of nail it down to one pick. I think obviously the few of the names you've both just kind of mentioned there are ones that I'm also sort of gravitating towards. It's hard to look past Chikugoto with her momentum and the current form she's on. And seeing her, mixing her up with the likes of Utami, having that match with Yuzuki, which I think is definitely one to circle with kind of the brief history that they've had so far in Marigold. I think that's going to be a really exciting one. Utami as well, though, as you said, now that Julia's officially out the company, this is now officially her company. She's going to be the name that kind of carries Marigold forward for the next however many years. So she's got a lot to kind of prove in this one, but definitely the big favorite heading in for sure. I think I'm going to pick Victoria Yuzuki though, as someone that I'm going to nail down. I think the company obviously has so much stock behind her. It was a formality that she was going to make it past those qualifiers. Now that she's in the mix, like you said, that match against Chikugoto, a match against Shozuki, I think is going to be a really exciting one. And then, of course, mixing it with the Mirais and Utamis of the world, I think her stock is going to be elevated by quite a lot in this tournament. So I'm going to go with Victoria Yuzuki. How she'll do in terms of points totals, we'll see.
Yeah,
But
I was
I
actually going to ask that. I was wondering, what do y'all think her tournament looks like? Because I mean, yeah, obviously, her win-loss record isn't great, but I mean, she's the only person to pin Julia as far as in that gauntlet. So it could be a little, hey, she's gonna do something. She probably won't finish top of the block, but she's gonna do something to where she probably won't hover around the bottom. But it's hard to tell. I think that's what I like about this tournament is there's no definitive, okay, this person's gonna be at the bottom.
Right.
I mean, of course, you have the idea of who's going to be at the top of the blocks, but it's not as clear cut as, say, like a G1 where there's like somebody that has 0 or 2 points. It's like, oh, they're the definite bottom of the bottom. I think everything as far as beyond the very top is going to be very evenly distributed all throughout. And I think that's what makes it the most exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I see her getting one big upset. And Shozuki, I kind of think feels like the obvious one as a potential challenger for that title. But you look at that Go Chica match. What is the end of that match? Right, once upon a time they went to a draw. But by the way, at that time, I think we all went into like, oh, this went 15 minutes. Like, I don't know, man. And then it was pretty good because like they have a great heat to them. Like these two, you feel like they hate each other, and then like if you watch like one of the Marigold videos, like they're kind of like best friends. But in the ring, they want to destroy each other, and like that's what I look at. She'll probably be towards the bottom. I'm sure. Like I think Nori's gonna have like a respectable number, especially with how like the last day ends up, which we'll talk about later. Right, you look at those matches, like who's facing who on the final day. And that's how we'll get to the finals. But yeah, I think she will do better than expected. I think 2 wins is what I would aim for, just because like you only have 7 matches, but a win over Shozuki and a win over whether it be Go Chica or Nozaki because she got DQ'd, something like that. That's kind of it. JB, what do you think for Victoria Yuzuki in this tournament in terms of finishing and who she should beat?
It's a tough one to call because as much as she's kind of still considered a prospect for Marigold, I think everyone's kind of the belief that the only thing holding back Victoria Yuzuki from kind of being pushed right towards the top ends of this promotion is whenever Marigold decides that'll be the case. She's so far ahead of where she should be in terms of the majority of rookies at this stage, and we kind of said from the moment she debuted that she's going to be the future of Joshi wrestling. So I think, Marigold could kind of decide to pull the trigger a little bit on her during this. So it's hard to say. I think based on where she is right now, I kind of agree that I think 1 win for sure. I like the idea of the Superfly challenge over Shozuki. So I think that's definitely one to watch. The Go Chica one, obviously, too. I feel like she may sneak a win against Nori. And I think Nori could get a lot of wins elsewhere in the tournament. But I think that could be an interesting one for sure. But I'm going to go with 2 wins, I think. But definitely over Shozuki for sure.
Yeah, Nori's the type that I could see get like a win over Koki and Go Chica, but lose to like the top, lose to Tommy.
I think she'll get one. I think she'll get one of the top names.
Yeah, I like I said, I'm pitching the Suzuki one because I need the title match, But Dream League, I'll ask you both. Your number 1 match you're most looking forward to here in this block. Jamie, I'll go with you first. Obviously for me, when I look at like top matches, I also look at venue. I think venue matters a lot when it comes to the big matches, and the biggest matches in this block are indeed happening at the biggest venues possible.
Again, it's another tough one to call with how stacked the lineup is. Obviously, it's hard to look past. The most obvious one, the immediate one, is Mirai and Utami. Obviously, the 2 biggest names in the block, and that's a match that will almost certainly be, for Marigold's red belt at some point down the line for sure. I think for my official pick though, I'm going to rock with Chika Goto and Yuzuki. I think
that's in Cork, so that's a great pick.
it's a match we've seen before, but obviously just kind of a preview of what they've both still got to come. And obviously, they're both improving at such a rapid pace. Chika Goto's seemingly the Marigold fan base's favorite wrestler collectively at the moment. But I think, like I said before, Yuzuki's gonna kind of remind everyone in this tournament why she's the super rookie of wrestling. So I think when they meet up, I think that's going to be a special one. It'll be really interesting to see who gets the dub in that. But that's my pick for the match I'm most looking forward to in the Dream League.
Xavi?
Yeah, obviously that was mine, but I have two Utami matches. One is obviously, I don't know if I'll put this first or like 1A, 1B, but obviously Go Chica and Utami. I'm excited to see what they'll do up against each other. You know, I was gonna say Nozaki and Utami on day one because I think we're in for a Nozaki victory there. However,
I just want you to know both matches you just said are day one.
I know, that's why I said
crazy.
Yeah, and while I was thinking that, and while this match does concern me because it's in Sendai, but Shozuki and Utami, that's probably going to be sleeper match of the tournament.
Yeah. I feel like they're just gonna click. So those are obviously great picks. I won't pick chalk. I'm not gonna. I think we all can like just avoid Utami and Mariah. We get it. You know, like it's gonna be incredible, right? Just like that's how I feel about Sareee versus Mikuano. Which, by the way, those happen on the same show. Psychotic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was looking at the schedule and I was like, man, they really loaded up Corkins. And that was, I mean, rightfully so, but God.
My pick, and I do want to give shout out to Mariah versus Shozuki. That's also on a Corkin. I feel like that's going to be fantastic. But I'm going to go with Tommy versus Nori. That's a Corkin Hall. I just feel like that's the type of match where you're going to see Nori showcase the best of her abilities. You know, when the idea of a Nori tournament came to light and when she joined, I was like, okay, her versus Mikuano. That's the one I need. I didn't get it. So I was like, okay, let me reset. Let me see what these blocks look like. Her and Utami just makes a lot of sense to me. Utami's very good against kick-based wrestlers. You might have seen Utami versus Shuri once upon a time. Utami's 10 times better than she was back then, which is terrifying to think about, considering all the talk that she had once upon a time. But I just feel like those two in Cork, in probably not the main event, but probably the top match of the Dream League that day should be great. And I'm really looking forward to that. But let's get over to the Star League now. Star League is full of, I don't want to say stars, but it is full of stars. You have the Marigold World Champion Sareee. You have the United National Champion Mikuano. You have one half of the Twin Star Champions, my Sakurai. You have Nanai Takahashi. You have Bozilla. You got Misa Matsui. You got Chiaki. And then you got Kazuna Tanaka. I think when I look at this block can be like one of the best in wrestling this year, or it can be like, you know, there can be hits and misses, obviously. But the peaks of this block are as high as any. Sareee versus Aono. Sareee versus Nanai. Sareee versus Bozilla. Aono versus Nanai. Right? Nanai versus Misa Matsui again. That's one of the best passion injection matches she's done. And then, like, when you have Mai Sakurai showing the improvement she's had, it's like, okay, this block gets even more exciting. And I think Kazuna Tanaka has walked into Marigold and has been great. So I'm very excited for what she has to do. And then there's Chiaki, who I think is the wild card of the entire tournament, like we were talking about earlier. Like, she has a dramatic range of what she can do in this tournament. And based off some matches I've seen her have with the likes of like Mirai, obviously on that very first show, she can reach a pretty high by the end of this. So I'm very much looking forward to her. But let's talk about this league. I think, you know, obviously Saree's, you know, this is the best wrestler in the world. We don't need to talk her up, but I will ask, because it's part of the question. Jamie, who do you find to be the most exciting wrestler in this league?
Again, it's another tough one. I really like this lineup. I might even prefer this one to the Dream League. It's a tough call. Outside of Sareee, I think the one who I'm most looking forward to, and I kind of mentioned it earlier in the podcast, I think Mai Sakurai is a really intriguing name going into this. Obviously off the back of winning those Twin Star belts and then the Julia match and another recent defense. You know, all three really strong matches, and I think if she can carry that momentum into this tournament, and obviously she's going to have a lot of fantastic opponents, you know, the likes of Sareee, Miku Aono, Nanai Takahashi. You know, I think she's set up nicely to really elevate her stock even more in this, and I think, you know, that would be a huge win for Marigold, considering the recent departure of Julie. If she can kind of step up, you know, and become more and more into that kind of top mix, and growing as a wrestler, then I think that would be huge. But there's a lot of names in this Star League that are really exciting, and when we get into some of the potential matchups, you know, I'll break it all down even further. But I'm going to circle my Sakurai for the time being.
I love it. Xavier, I think I know where you're going, and I think it begins and ends with passion, but I'll let you pick.
So surprisingly not. I already spoiled mine earlier. I do like the Mai Sakurai pick. As me and Beth talked about before, people forget that this company is like a couple months in. There's not a lot of big names, despite all of them being great wrestlers. As far as definitive big names to draw, there's not a lot. So if Mai can continue the role she's on, that way they can keep putting her in big spots, it's going to be great for the company. Obviously, mine is the dark horse or dark wolf, if you will, in Chiaki, of course. Just because out of everybody just looking at this block, she's just the one that stands out the most, and who I want to see have a respectable tournament. I expect her to get one like sneak victory over one of the bigger names. Just because in that elimination tag from Cork, and she was in there with both Mirai and Utami, who of course she won't face in this league, but she did not feel out of place, like whatsoever. And that was at the point where she was down 2-1, so that was even crazier that she was able to go between both and still not be out of place. Just I want to see what she does in this tournament. Hopefully, you know, she does get a signature victory. You know, she's the only one that's like flat out saying, yeah, I'm not here to like shake hands and all that bullshit. I'm trying to be the number one Rudo. I'm trying to. So they have a definitive, you know, I want to say antagonist. That's the perfect word for it, as far as with her trying to assume that role. But I mean, of course, I'm looking forward to the growth of Kazuna Tanaka, and I think Misa Matsui is an interesting one because she probably won't score a lot, but I think she'll have a similar role to, say, not counting this year because apparently he scored a lot of points. I don't know, I didn't really watch, but Hiroki Goto in G1s in years past, where it's just like, okay, not going to score a lot, but they're going to deliver. Like,
yeah, she's the Saya Ida.
Yeah, that's good.
Shouts out to Saida, of course, and what she's done. Okay, well, you left a lot open here. I don't want to pick one of the top two champions. I think we're going to talk about them a lot in the next few segments here. So I'm going to go with passion.
Yeah.
You know, I think Nanai Takahashi. Listen. For someone who is, you know, on the back half of her career, right? She is putting in some of the best work right now. And I think with the Nanai Takahashi, to quote Jordan Patu, to the Nanai Takahashi haters, fuck you. One of my favorite tweets of all time. Like, Nanai versus Chiaki should be really fun. Nanai versus Bozilla, we know how good that is. We've seen it in Cork and Hall. They're going to run it back at Cork and Hall. Miku Ano versus Nanai, are you kidding me? That's going to be great. And like, I don't think I need to say much about Sareee versus Nanai. That's the match I just stare at. It's at Cork, and I'm like, that's going to be incredible. It might be a little disgusting in terms of just all out physicality, but that's going to be incredible. Like I said earlier, her and Mai Sakurai opening day, I can't wait for that. And then her and Kazuna, we haven't got that passion injection match yet. I'm excited for that. And you know, her and Misa Matsui are proven. They're proven. So it's like, you look at Nanai, it's like, and I think there's also a fun story to tell. This could be Nanai's last tournament ever. We don't know. Like, you know, she's at that point where, you know, maybe she's going to get a little bit more limited. Now, they said she was going to be limited in August, and then she pretty much wrestled every show. I think she missed one. I still think she might have missed the Korakuen. Like, I think that's true. I thought she might have missed the Korakuen, but the Arisa Nakajima thing came up, and obviously she was not going to miss that. But I look at Nanai as like, this is someone that's going to go out there and give it her all each and every match. It could be her last tournament. I think that's a hell of a story to tell. You know, the veteran of the block going out there trying to win it one last time. And I think she's beating Sareee in this tournament to set up a title match. I think that's going to be Saree's main loss in the tournament. But yeah, I can't wait for what she does. The Star League, the more I look at it, the more I get excited about it. It's that type of thing. It's like the more I think about the matches for like Amisa Matsui against the Sarees and I don't know, I'm like that, you know, those are gonna be special. But I do want to talk about one person in this tournament before we move on to more excitement in the block. I think Bozilla's very interesting because we've seen very high marks for Bozilla. She is a really great tag wrestler, I've noticed. I think that's where she shines the most because she gets to hit her spots. But this is the tournament, right? We were talking about it with Gochika. We were talking about it with Koki, Victoria Azuki. This is the tournament she's going to go into it and learn. Obviously, she's going to be very dominant against the likes of Amisa Matsui and Kazuna Tanaka. But it's the others that I'm interested in. What are the fights going to look like, right? Her and Sareee is one of the more interesting matches in the entire tournament. Those two only respect each other, it seems, in this company. Sareee doesn't respect
Saree's
many
favorite
others.
wrestler.
Yeah, exactly. So like I think Bozilla is going to have one of the most interesting tournaments, and you know, I think there's a serious conversation to be had that if she hits her highs, it can be one of the best overall tournament performances. She's set up to succeed, and I think in the end she will. When it comes to Bozilla, Xavi, what match for her do you think is her biggest test in terms of like for you and to see like what can she do in such a match, and how do you feel about her overall tournament as we head into the league this weekend?
That's tough because I mean we saw the Nanai match and that obviously was great. She was able to showcase what she could do. I think Sareee is probably her biggest test because everybody else she could probably very easily be on the up and dominate the whole match. Sareee, she's gonna have to be more 50-50. Even if she doesn't want to, Sareee will make it 50-50. So I think that's her biggest test. But also, I think Bozilla is very interesting as far as throughout this tournament. I agree with you. I group her with everybody else as somebody who's going to use this tournament to grow in a single setting. But I think the fun part about her, she's very similar to Chica Godon in the sense where she wants to improve a lot. And that's very visible if you like follow her on social media. She's a student of the game. She just wants to get better. And this is a perfect platform for her to do that. I think it's interesting that we've only now touched on her because to me, she's very much in the running to possibly get to the final. It's just that so much of the excitement is around some of the people who can come out of this higher than they were coming into this as far as status wise, that we just completely left her off until now, which I think that's really fascinating because like I said, I think she's very much in the running to get to the final.
Jamie, how do you feel about Bozilla and her potential run in this tournament?
I'm looking forward to it. I would also agree on the Sareee match being a big test. But if I had to circle another match, I think her running it back with Aono is a really interesting one. Obviously, we saw it at Summer Destiny for the United National Championship, but obviously now coming into a slightly different dynamic. Obviously, Aono had wrestled with Mariah in a hell of a match right before that. And she was still able to take the win, but both coming in fresh in tournament action, I think that's a really intriguing one in how the kind of dynamics play out there and whether Bozilla gets her win back there and maybe a potential rematch for a title down the line, I think is a possibility. But I certainly think she's an interesting one in terms of how far she'll progress. We'll get into our full finals predictions a little later, I assume, but I'm predicting she's going to do quite well in this tournament, obviously picking up wins against kind of the lower end of the roster, but also could be the ones to give the likes of Aono or even a Sareee, their big loss. Obviously, she's very well protected. But that's a rematch, man, is a really, really interesting one. I think there's going to be perhaps code of honor adhered to, handshake at the start. They both have a lot of respect for each other. Like you said, seemingly the only people that they respect between themselves is each other. So that's a really exciting one. And obviously, she's going to be a future challenger, of course, for Marigold's top titles if she sticks around long enough. So seeing her mix up with both top champions at this stage, I think we'll get a good indication of where her immediate future is headed after this tournament.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's such an interesting prospect, obviously, in wrestling overall. And, you know, if she walks out of this tournament improved in any way, like she's just a continued home run. She's already been a home run for Marigold. Like, no one expected Bozilla, someone that, you know, was pretty unknown, to be this good already. And this is just the tournament where, you know, she works on her craft and she continues to develop. I like to look back at that Nozaki match that they had. Like, that was pretty good for what it was. Like, it wasn't long, it was very simple, but considering where Bozola was then compared to even now, I'm very excited to see what she can bring to the table. But before we get to our top match that we're looking forward to, let's just talk about Sareee and Miku Ano. Why go around it? Why not just talk about the best of the best, right? Obviously, with Miku Ano, I think it's very much we look at who's the potential challengers for her out of this tournament. You know, I think with Nanai, you kind of look at her as a potential world title challenger. You look at obviously Mai Sakurai, though, as someone who Miku Ano has already named as a potential challenger. But I'm thinking Miku Ano probably has to lose 2 matches here. One, what match are you most looking forward to? You could just say the Sareee match. It's fine. I'm not going to get mad at you. And 2, who would you pick to beat her in this tournament? Xavi, I'll go with you first.
So most look forward to match for Aono specifically. Yeah, it's probably just the Sareee match, but at the same time, come on, you can't count out passion. You can't count out passion. But I think we're gonna get a good tournament from the Dark Wolf Army. I think Chiaki gets the win and just like, oh, you wanna face Mai and Gochika? Well, you can't do that because I beat you, so I am next in line.
I like that. I like that. I like Chiaki a lot, so I would love to see her get a big win like that. I think Aono makes the most sense for someone like Chiaki to beat as well. You know, her being Sareee, Nanai, Bozilla.
It feels too soon for that.
Yeah, but beating Miku, I don't know. I could see it, and I like that a lot. Jamie, how about you? What match for you? You could just say Sareee. It's fine. And who would you like to see her potentially have to face in a title match if she gets upset here?
I'm going to shock you here, but I cannot wait for this match against Sareee. I was going to go bold. Nah, we're like, we got to lock in. It's the Sareee match. It was the one immediately when those block lineups came out. I think from both sides, that I think everyone circled as you know the front runner to be match of the tournament if all things go well. And both are on their game, which they almost always are. Sareee, probably the best wrestler in the world right now, definitely my wrestler of the year. And Miku Aono has been one of the most consistent performers since coming to Marigold. Someone who's kind of, she was obviously on the kind of upper levels of actress skills, but that's of course not a promotion that a lot of people are like super tapped into. So when she kind of crossed over to Marigold, I think she's benefited a lot from the new eyes, and she's immediately one of the stars of the promotion, and you can see that with how they've pushed her. Seeing those two mix it up, I think, is going to be absolutely incredible. It'll be interesting to see the outcome of that. I assume Sareee picks up the win, and that's going to be one of Arno's big losses in the tournament. In terms of the other one, though, I would tend to agree on the Chiaki front. I think I do like the idea of Chiaki kind of putting herself into the mix. Obviously, as Xavi said, there's she wasn't mentioned by Arno in that recent promo, so I think kind of inserting her in by defeating the champion is the perfect way to go. But it'll be interesting to see how she gets on against Mai Sakurai, as she mentioned that as a potential challenge. And they're going to run it in the blocks before we get to that title match, presumably. So seeing how that one plays out, I think will also be interesting. But yeah, it's hard to look past the Sareee match for sure. Another one, again, Misa Matsui also, I think, will be a really exciting one too. Not someone who I think will defeat Aono, but I think they'll have a really nice match for sure.
It's funny because with Matsui, she has the high speed aspect where she can upset anyone, right? That's kind of her role in this block is, she's playing the spoiler role, much like someone like an Azumi has for years, or a Natsupoi even before, she became a limb targeting person, but it's fine. Anyways,
I do think Matsui could possibly be due for the Nanai upset. Since they're running that back, I think she could be due for just the Nanai upset as far as her big win for the tournament.
I think that'd be very inspired. I also could see Miku Ano versus Misa Matsui just main event the first show of this entire tournament. Obviously, it's on the first show. I look at Miku Ano in this tournament, and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of matchups that I'm excited for. The Nanai match was a good shout, especially since it's on the final day. But there's nothing better than the Sareee match. Why am I why sit here and lie? Like, that is the match of the tournament. Period.
Outside of Nanai, Miku's the only other person that's going to be able to match Saree's intensity. So
exactly, like, they're going to run into each other one time, and like shirts are going to be ripped. People are going to be excited. It's going to be the match of the year type beat, you know. Like, and the reason I'm so excited for it is like Saree's hit rate is, if you want to go in terms of stars, it's 4 and above. Like, that is her average. Okay, everyone else in wrestling is like, okay, you know, you're gonna have some misses here. Sareee doesn't miss, so when she's gonna go in there with someone like Miku Ano in a champion versus champion battle, how could you not be excited for that? I think Miku Ano is gonna have a fantastic tournament. I'm not even gonna count her out as a potential finalist as the United National Champion. I don't think she wins the tournament, but when you look at finalists, I think she is absolutely in the conversation, as we've seen with Marigold so far. Rossi's not afraid to do some interesting things like that, right? We've already seen Sareee, someone that is not even signed to the company, become the first world champion. We saw Miku Ano, someone that was kind of seen as the third option in that trifecta heading into the show, win the United National. I'm not counting anything out, and I think they see her as a major star, and there's reasons for that. And then on the Sareee front, I don't think we have that much to say other than every single match has like the highest possible hit rate, like humanly imaginable. I look at her, Kazuna Tanaka. I think that's going to be special. Kazuna Tanaka loves Sareee. She literally cries at her feet when she faces her. Like, that is a thing that happens. I saw Kazuna Tanaka in a tag match with Sareee earlier this year. Like, these two just have a connection that's going to work. I'm very much looking forward to that match. Her and Misa Matsui is one that I didn't think about much going into this conversation, but it's like, that's one of your like underrated, well, you know, this could really hit type, and then obviously her versus all the big hitters. I mean, I can't wait. So that brings us to our match we're most looking forward to that isn't Sareee versus Miku Ano. In the Star League. I say this because, like, I don't think we have to talk about Sareee too much because I think she's just going to be brought up naturally in this conversation. So I'll start. The non Sareee Miku Ano match that I'm most looking forward to in the Star League is, in fact, Sareee and Nanai. I can't stop talking about it because I think if you're looking at this tournament, what's going to be the most physical match in this tournament? It's them. They're the two old school wrestlers of the tournament, right? And that's going to be a fight. I got a little taste of them in that Arisa Nakajima tag, and I was like, I'm in. I don't just save it for the match, right? And I think that's going to be the show where Nanai gets the big upset, right? And Nanai gets and saying Nanai winning is an upset is crazy out loud. I understand that. Nanai doesn't really lose that much. But I think her beating Sareee, and I think that's someone Sareee is perfectly happy losing to. Not that Sareee really, you know, I've watched Sareee lose on a house show tag in Sendai. Like, you know, it's not like she's difficult like that. But I think
beast.
Yeah, exactly. like I think for her and Nanai at Corkin, probable main event for that show, it's going to be as good as it gets. So that's the one I'm looking forward to most in Star League that isn't Sareee versus Miku Ano. Jamie, I'll go with you. What match stands out most to you here in the Star League that people should keep an eye on?
It's another tough one. There's a lot of really great options here. I think I'm also going to go with a Sareee match, but slightly different one. I don't know, shocking, I know. We're picking the best wrestler in the world. Great matches here. No surprises. But I'm going to go with her match against Chiaki. I think that's a really We've obviously already talked a lot about her as someone to watch in this tournament. And if you're going to have a breakout performance, I don't think there's a better wrestler in the world to have that against than Sareee, who like you say, brings it in absolutely every match. I think she's going to be Saree's going to be really key in elevating a lot of the talent here. I don't think she's going to pick up that win. I think, like you said, her big win's going to come against Miko Aono, and she'll challenge for that white belt. But I think in terms of a standout performance, I think Chiaki could really shine in that match against Sareee, show a lot of intensity. We've already seen glimpses of it, but I think this is where she has her big breakout moments for sure.
That's the potential main event of Shinkiba first ring. That's beautiful. That's beautiful right there. And Xavi, what match are you picking here?
I had thought about Chiaki versus Sareee, but I'm gonna go Chiaki and Nanai, especially just going back to when Chiaki came into the company and said she wanted to learn from Nanai how to be a Rudo. I think Nanai's gonna give her that fight she's looking for. I don't think she's gonna have to try too hard to get anything out of Nanai. Okay, I just think that's gonna be an absolute scrap. Then I'm also on a very much under the radar type deal. I'm looking forward to see Nanai versus Kazuna because obviously Kazuna is a purebred pro wrestler, father and mother as a pro wrestler. It'll be interesting to see how Nanai approaches that, whether she'll be hoping Kazuna brings more just because she has this lineage or she just completely mauls her.
Brings more what?
Passion.
Thank you. Just had to get that in there. Everyone should watch the video they uploaded of them playing that game and I doing everything in her power not to say passion. It's actually the greatest video of all time. But yes, that is a look at the Dream League, the Star League. Let's look at the schedule now here. The schedule is very exciting. So it opens up day one. You have and shout out to Dylan Murray for putting the schedule together. It's very fancy, very nice looking here. So they're doing 2 shows in Osaka on day one. It starts on the 30th for us, but it is the 31st in Japan. You'll have Utami Hayashishita versus Nagisa Nozaki, Mirai versus Chika Goto, Koki Amari versus Nori, Natsumi Shizuki versus Victoria Izuki, and then on the night show on that side, you have Utami versus Chika Goto, Mariah versus Nori, and Nagisa Nozaki versus Natsumi Shizuki. With the Star League, you have Miku Ano versus Misa Matsui, Nanai Takahashi versus Mai Sakurai, Kazuna Tanaka versus Bozilla, and then you have Miku Ano versus Chiaki and Bozilla versus Misa Matsui. So let's talk about the opening day before we get through the rest of the schedule here. I think that's kind of the fun conversation we can have here. By the way, love these graphics. Very exciting, very colorful, and pops off the page here. What do you think? So obviously, like the 2 shows in one day, I think some people might temper expectations because that's a lot of wrestling. I'm not gonna, because I've seen them wrestle twice in a day already. I know what limits they're willing to go towards. And yes, I did pick these 4 specifically. I will not lie to you. I did pick these 4 to highlight. For me, like I look at Mirai versus Nori as a chance for Nori to really shine right off the rip. Right? Mirai has been a super worker, it feels like, in not the Dream Star yet, but in Marigold as a whole. So I'm really looking forward to that. But as we've been kind of talking about with Utami and Nozaki, that feels like the time where Nozaki is going to completely flip the switch that I think we all know she's capable of. As she said in a quote, she's never been in a singles tournament. She's not really familiar with them.
She's one catch the wave, and that's hilarious.
She's one catch the wave. She's like, I'm not really fond of them. I haven't had good memories. I was like, oh, all right. That's a lie, but sounds good. What match in terms of day one sticks out most to you, Jamie? I'll start with you. I'll get the full lineup back here so you can take a pick.
Ooh, day one, I think for me, I kind of mentioned it earlier in the show. I'm really looking forward to Nanai and Mai Sakurai. I think Mai Sakurai, like I said, is someone who's gonna have a lot to kind of prove it in this tournament, but I think she's on the kind of form of momentum to really do it. And I've said for the longest time now, in terms of best career matches, Nanai Takahashi has given a lot of Joshi wrestlers their best career matches in these passion injection matches, and I think this is going to be a real passion injection style out in here for Mai Sakurai. I think to kick off her tournament this is the best possible opening match for her, because if this is the one that kind of fires her up for the remainder of it, I think it's going to be really special. But there's a lot on this opening day show that are really exciting. But yeah, I would never bet against the passion. So Nanai and Mai Sakurai, that's my pick.
And that's notably both of they only have one match that day, so it's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be nasty. Xavi, what match are you most looking forward to on day one?
I'm glad we already touched on Utami and Nozaki a bit, because I genuinely think that's going to be arguably one of the matches of the tournament. I know Nozaki has a lot of detractors just because they've seen her operate at a level where she just doesn't really care, and she hasn't had a reason to. But I'm going to talk about the night show for a bit. Just give me 1 second. So, I was going to say something.
He gets rid of the camera.
If Rossi is listening to this, because I know he will, if you give Chika Goto the win over Utami, I will sacrifice Gato to the gods, not the wrestling gods, the gods. He will cease to exist if you simply give Go Chika the upset. And with that being said, all there is to say about that is say no, Achika, Go Chika, Go Chika. Okay.
Oh god, it's kind of crazy that Go Chika is wrestling both Mirai and Utami on that day. Ooh, that's not the easiest schedule to start with. I'd argue
knew she was the strongest person to beat in the tournament, so they had to give her the two heavy hitters day one, because they want to take her out. And I understand that. I mean,
they want to take
it's
her
what
out.
It is.
In terms of like the match that I'm most looking forward to on day one, I think there's a lot to pick from. But you know, I look at that Mirai versus Nori match. It's exciting. It excites me. I know what Mirai versus a striker does. I've watched Mirai versus Mikuano 17 times. They're all great. And I think this is a fun change up for her. Obviously, Nori has the MMA background. So, do a little shoot style against Mirai. That should be interesting. Then, we talked about Mikuano versus Misa Matsui earlier today. As we talk about this day one, what you know how Rossi books. What is going to be the upset of the day in terms of that opening show? I mean, I know Xavier's already booking.
No, that's my pitch, but I already told you what my upset for this day was going to be, because it's on the next show.
Chiaki, yes. Chiaki versus Mikuano. Chiaki getting the big win over the champ.
I want to pose a question before y'all give y'all's answer. Would Nozaki beating Utami technically be an upset? Because I personally don't think so, but to some people, it could be seen as such.
Yes and no. Like, if you know who Nozaki is, then no. But if you only know Nozaki from Marigold and you know Utami as Utami, I'm sure a lot of people won't see or will see it as an upset. So I definitely wouldn't side with that one. The one I look at is Victoria Yuzuki over Natsumi Shizuki. I think that is a very tempting one. I just watched this woman pin Julia. Like, this is someone that obviously they believe in. Two people have pinned Julia in her time. Really, over the past year, it's been, three people. It's been Stephanie Vaquer, WWE Zone, Sareee, and Victoria Yuzuki. Like, it's not a long list of people that have pinned Julia this year. And one of those had to happen. The other two, obviously, the Yuzuki one didn't have to happen. That was a decision that they made with purpose in mind. So that's the upset I'm hoping for. Jamie, what upset out of all these? And I feel like there's a lot of potential upsets on this show that you're hoping for. And if you say Bozilla versus Kazuna Tanaka,
I was going to say, we're not giving big kids a chance.
I'll give you a lot of credit. I think Bozilla's walking out of that a comfortable 2-0, but it would be nice.
Yeah, so I would have definitely said the two that you've kind of already mentioned, and I know we touched on them a little earlier too. Again, I think the Nozaki one's interesting, depending on how you look at it. Obviously, if you've only seen her in Marigold, we're yet to see her like kind of pull the trigger. in terms of like the best of her ability, and I think this is where we're going to see it happen. So she could get that win. Looking at the rest of the matches, though, so yeah, I agree. Yuzuki on Shozuki, I think that's a win she picks up there, and definitely Chiaki and Miku Ano. I think Misa Matsui could potentially get a big win over Bozilla. That's definitely a David and Goliath pairing.
That would be
there.
awesome.
It would be. I would love it a lot. I think I think Matsui's going to take a loss to Ano in the day show, but I think she could get a tournament rolling. I think she's going to be someone in this tournament. She obviously brings that kind of high speed style. She's going to always be a threat to some of the top contenders with the kind of flash roll ups and stuff like that. And I think we've seen before that Bozilla's kind of susceptible to those flash pins. So I think I would not count out Misa Matsui in that match against Bozilla, but it's going to be a tough one.
I've watched, was it Misa Matsui that headbutt? Oh no, that's Kazuna Tanaka that headbutt Bozilla, then poked her in the eye.
Yeah,
instead of the other way around. I think we might see that again. I look at this day, opening day. There's no way both Utami and Mirai are walking out of this 2-0. I just don't see it happening, and I would not be surprised if it's because of one Go Chica getting a big shock win one way or the other. But let's look at the rest of the schedule here. On day 2, it's Utami Hayashishita versus Victoria Yuzuki, Koki Amari versus Natsumi Shizuki, and Chika Goto versus Nori. And then on the other side, you have Miku Ano versus Bozilla in the big-time rematch, Nanae Takahashi versus Misa Matsui, and Sareee kicking off her tournament versus Mai Sakurai. On day 3 at Shinkiba, first ring, which could be one of those underrated shows of the tournament if you look forward to it just because of the crowd itself. You have Koki Amare versus Victoria Yuzuki and Nagisa Nozaki versus Nori in the Dream League. And then in the Star League, you have Sareee versus Chiaki, Nanae Takahashi versus Kazuna Tanaka, and Mai Sakurai versus Bozilla. And then we get to our first of 2 Korakuens. Yes, you have Utami Hayashishita versus Mirai, Natsumi Shizuki versus Nori. That's the real, by the way. They knew to put that on Korakuen. And Go Chica versus Victoria Yuzuki. That's
the main event right there.
That's just incredible. I think it's gonna have a tough time getting the main event spot on this show, but I would love it. That would be one of the crazier things Rossi's done booking wise if he put this in the main event. You'll have Sareee versus Miku Ano, Nanae Takahashi versus Bozilla, Mai Sakurai versus Kazuna Tanaka, and Misa Matsui versus Chiaki. Then you head to Sendai for day 5, Mirai versus Koki Amare, Utami Hayashishita versus Natsumi Shizuki. Shout out to The Rock. You have Go Chica versus Nagisa Nozaki. Then in the Star League is Sareee versus Misa Matsui, Miku Ano versus Kazuna Tanaka, and Chiaki versus Nanae Takahashi. Again, we got the chills going. Bring it to day 6 in Morioka. We have Mirai versus Victoria Yuzuki and Koki Amare versus Nagisa Nozaki. That one could be the most, maybe the funniest match of the tournament.
Yeah.
It could just be big boots. That's probably going to be the entire match, and then someone's going to hit their finisher, and it's over. And I'll be very entertained. I hope everyone knows that. Then you have Sareee versus Kazuna Tanaka and Mai Sakurai versus Chiaki. And then in your final Korakuen Hall date, Utami Hayashishita versus Nori, Koki Amare versus Chika Goto as the Twin Towers collide. You have Mirai versus Natsumi Shizuki, Victoria Yuzuki versus Nagisa Nozaki. And then in the Star League, you have Sareee versus Nanae Takahashi, Chiaki versus Bozilla, Mai Sakurai versus Miku Ano, and Kazuna Tanaka versus Misa Matsui. And then on the finals in Nagoya, you have Utami Hayashishita versus Koki Amare, Mirai versus Nagisa Nozaki, Natsumi Shizuki versus Chika Goto, and Victoria Yuzuki versus Nori. I look at that final day and I say, oh, Tommy might be getting upset by Koki.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a booking potential by Rossi. That's something you look at.
I don't even think it's a potential. I think it's certain.
Ooh,
it could be. I mean, I think they could change it if Koki doesn't have a good tournament. But I think as things stands, coming off of the UN title match, I think that's a definite in their mind. They're gonna have Koki beat Utami.
the big shock heading into the finals. Then you have Sareee versus Bozilla, Miku Ano versus Nanai Takahashi, Mai Sakurai versus Misa Matsui, and Kazuna Tanaka versus Chiaki. Let's talk about that final day. Let's talk about our potential finals here as we wrap up this Dream Star GP preview. You look at Utami versus Koki, you know that's going to be an important match. You look at Mirai versus Nozaki, you know that's going to be an important match. I think Suzuki versus Gochika could be an important match as well in terms of maybe just a necessary upset for Suzuki via Gochika. On the other side, you have Sareee versus Bozilla and Miku Ano versus Nanai Takahashi. We know. We know what matches matter on the final day. So with that being said, let's look at the Dream League. Who do you expect to win the Dream League? Jamie, I will start with you.
It's really tough because, you know, we kind of joked on our recent Gold Star podcast. You know, we did the 5-star preview, and you know, all three of us on the panel were 100% certain that Tam Nakano was taking it. And we saw how her tournament kind of panned out. I'm feeling the same way right now.
A whopping 0-6, by the way.
Yeah. we couldn't have possibly been more wrong. But I'm feeling the same way as I did back then with Tam right now about Utami Hayashishita. The only thing that's preventing me from going all in and saying it outright is that Koki match. And I think that is it's a bit of a spooky one for Utami's tournament. You know, they very purposefully put that match there. And it does definitely scream of an upset there to kind of offset her tournament right at the end. If that is the case, then I think Mirai should be the lock in that final spot. But I'm going to trust that Utami makes it. I think Utami is making it to the finals. How that match against Koki pans out, we'll have to see. But I think she's going to get the job done. I think she's obviously the big favourite overall in the tournament, I think, for a lot of people. And I think it's for good reason. I think she's picking up the first ever Dream Star Grand Prix victory.
Yeah, she does feel like the Tam heavy favorite, right? It's like everyone saw the tournament. They're like, oh, Tommy's got to win, right? Tommy versus Sareee, one of the most built up matches without actually really being previewed or happening. We saw like one time they collided, and we haven't got it yet. In terms of the Dream League, I look at Nozaki Mirai match, and I just say to myself, like, Nozaki, the heel, trying to stop the super baby face in Mirai.
I think that could be the opposite, to be honest, because like I said, I think Nozaki's going to start off with the win over Utami. I think she's going to be in comfortable positioning to like get to the final on that final day.
I think they're both going to be in it. I think it's going to be like whoever wins is advancing type beat, you know, especially, you know, I could see that happening then between Utami and Koki. You see the upset there, and it's like, oh, Mirai's moving on type thing. You know, I said it on the Gold Star with you, Jamie. I'm going with Mirai. I think Mirai is. Listen, Rossi likes to book Mirai strong in tournaments. We know.
I know.
We know this. Cinderella, she's 2-0. You know, and then in 5 stars, she is like 1 point away from the finals each time. So it would not surprise me at all. You know, her getting held back from winning the United National title, I think, was a sign of okay. Maybe that's not the title she's going to win now. Maybe it will be the world title. And I don't know, but Mirai and Sareee have cooked up a story as well. So I think that's very much in the conversation, right? You know, Sareee has pretty much asked Mirai, like, why are you hiding from me? Like, what? You talk the talk. You want to be the ace. I'm right here. And it hasn't happened yet. I can see Mirai get through this tournament. I don't think there's any other option besides these two, but Xavi, I will ask you, who do you see advancing here in the Dream Star Dream League side?
That was a perfect segue because the only scenario I have Utami in the final, I have 2 scenarios. The only scenario I have her in the finals is her losing to Nanai in the finals. That's the only way I see her in the final. Mostly because I still think they haul her off on her first big title win until Summer Destiny, so they can you know, prolong it. That and because when you're making an ace, you don't want to like rush it. I mean, it'd be fine if they did it now, but I think Summer Destiny's obviously their big show, so they're gonna wait to crown her there.
They've been very patient with her.
Yeah. And I think that's fine. Like, they don't need to rush it. I know a lot of people will say they do because a lot of wrestling fans just are impatient as shit and think everybody should get the Okada Rainmaker shock fucking yeah. But yeah, the only scenario I see Utami getting to the final is losing to Nanai if Nanai wins the tournament. But I'm going Mirai.
Okay.
I think Mirai is winning. I think Twin Towers taking the Twin Stars, and she's going to be free to win the world title.
I mean, that wouldn't shock me, especially with them challenging next. Like for me, it's gonna come down to how does their match go, right? How does that Utami Mirai match go? I could see Utami get the win, Mirai win the tournament, or the other way around, right? It's like I feel like whoever wins their match, it's building for the long term rather than the short term. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. The beauty of this is they have two great options. If they don't go with Utami now, they're going to go with Utami eventually. And there is, the obvious booking in mind of, okay, she lost to Io. Is this where she gets her redemption? Or like you said, do they wait till Summer Destiny 1 year after losing to Io for her to have her crowning moment? I think that's obviously a good thing to think about as well.
I'm glad you mentioned that because Rossi said on this column that Io wants to do Summer Destiny again. So her getting to see Utami win the world title and ascend after taking that loss, I think that's a good story to tell.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
There's another interesting thing I want to point out as well. We talk about that Kohi match for Utami, and I'm trying to give myself a bit more confidence with my Utami pick here and bring another thing into the mix. Mirai's match against Nozaki. There's another element in play here, and that is Chiaki. We've seen Nozaki and Chiaki are kind of the heel influencer in the promotion so far. Mirai's got those twin star belts, and I think if there's going to be a match where
that's true,
Chiaki could influence things and maybe cause Nozaki to pick up a win. I think that's where it could happen. But that might just be me coping because I'm outnumbered here and I need to back myself up on Utami winning. I don't know. I think it's something to bear in mind, and it'd be interesting to follow also throughout the tournament how that kind of heel, the heel work of Nozaki and Chiaki plays into things. I hope not too much. We've seen a lot of hate in Stardom, and I don't want any more.
I've seen a lot of hate. Yeah, no, there's been enough hate for me. We're all about the Dark Wolf Army here. And then we look, of course, at the Star League and potential winners over there. You look at that final day. Obviously, we have Sareee versus Bozilla, and we have Nanai versus Miku Amano. There is a very funny idea. You just do Mirai versus Miku Amano in the final.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that because that is the first year rivalry of Marigold. It's those two, right? We've seen it in the Twin Star finals. We've seen it for the United National. Why not just do it for the Dream Star?
Listen, I'd be fine with that because they delivered. But if I have to see the Twitter feed after a confirmed Miku Aino versus Mirai final after they wrestled so much this year, I'll probably blow my brains out. I'll be honest. Oh my God, why are we doing this again? Like I don't even want to go through it.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Like, I think obviously a lot of people looked at Mirai versus Bozilla as the eventual United National final, and it didn't happen. It feels like it's very much in play for this tournament. Picking the Star League is really tough for me because for I think a lot of us agree Dream League's between two people. Star League's between four. Like, I think the big four are all capable. I will never count out Sareee. I don't think we put her in just because, like, she's the world champion. The winner's likely facing the world champion, but I'll never count her out. Yeah. But she is facing Bozilla that final night. That feels like a draw, if anything, just based off of how Rossi has booked in the past with 5 stars in the final night. And, the winner of a block drawing is a typical move. And you could see Miku Ano maybe upsetting Nanai to stop her from advancing. I think that's a possibility there to get Bozilla in, because Bozilla is not going to lose a lot. Right, she might lose 1-2 matches. So I'm going to go with Bozilla. I think Mirai versus Bozilla is your final. I think Bozilla is like the perfect person you build up for baby faces to beat. that's that's that unfortunate role that some have, but I think she has been so good at it. Just with the right when Mikuano won, everyone was like, "Oh my god, like this is great." And I think Mariah and Bozilla, just based off of the moments they've had in the ring over the past month or two, feel like they're building to this moment. And I would have Mariah win the tournament. That is my pick to win and go on to presumably first Dream to face Sareee for the world title. But I'll pass it over to you, Xavi. Who do you have winning the Star League?
Already presented my Nanai situation, but I'm still not too confident in that happening. My final is Mariah over Bozilla for the Dream Star Grand Prix. I know it's between four people, and I do like the funny aspect of I don't know again. However, I think Bozilla is the perfect person for either Utami or Mariah, to where where it just seems like to me, she just seems like a no brainer to have in that final just to lose.
Yeah.
Obviously she's not going to lose a lot, but I mean, she could beat Sareee. They could draw, but she could just straight up win. And I think her beating Sareee would be a big statement because nobody's done that. I mean, of course, we're assuming Nanai is going to do it by then, but still, like that's one person. So like her doing that and going to the final, it's going to be big. And I have liked what I've seen between Mariah and Bozilla and the tags and stuff. I liked what Utami and Bozilla did in the tag when it was previewing the Mariah and Miku match from earlier in the year. I think that could be fun, but I do think Mariah overcoming Bozilla just seems like too much too good to not pass up on. And not only that, I think Mariah beating Bozilla, we could still do a special singles with Bozilla and Utami at first Dream to like kind of continue her ascent.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. Jamie, who do you think's winning the Star League facing your finalist of Utami Hayashishita? And then, of course, give us your winner.
I think I'm also going to go with Bozilla to make the finals.
We're all in on Boz.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Oh, she's not making it now. We got 3.
We've all,
But go ahead. It's fine. Sell us.
She's
Sell
not
us, make us
picking
feel
up a
better.
single victory based on our form. But I think Bozilla's going to make it. I think with having in my picks with having Utami in the finals, and obviously her being a big favorite, they've strayed away from doing Utami and Sareee. They're obviously saving it for the biggest of occasions. And while Sareee is always going to be in the mix to make the finals, if Utami's going to be there, I don't think they run that match until it's for the red belt. And for that reason, I think Bozilla makes it. Picking between those two afterwards is a difficult one because I do like the point that Xavier made about saving Utami's big crowning moments for Summer Destiny again next year. I think that's definitely in play. However, I'm going to go with the favorite pick. I think Utami does get the job done. I think she wins the first ever Dream Star Grand Prix. When that match will be against Sareee for the red belt, whether she may end up walking into Summer Destiny next year as red belt champion, which would maybe be a slightly different dynamic. I don't know how it'll all play out, but I think Utami gets the job done. And
that match is coming. That's the thing. It's like Utami versus Saree's gonna happen. It's just a matter of, do they want to save it for Summer Destiny? Do they want to do it before that, right?
I think something very interesting that I think definitely is in play is possibility of Mariah winning the belt and going into Summer Destiny as champion. And Utami, like, what if her and Mariah draw in this tournament? They don't, have another singles until Summer Destiny comes around. Utami's like, I kind of want to stand at the top of Marigold at the end of Summer Destiny, and then Saree's like, well, I want my belt back, and now you have something to kind of build the excitement. It's like, okay, Summer Destiny is going to be one of these two, so you get to do that match on like a Hurricane and sell a bunch of tickets and all that.
Yeah, I think everything is in play when it comes to the potential of who ends up winning the world title, right? Rossi book people to win tournaments. He does not always book them to then win the title. Obviously, the past few years in Stardom have thrown some people off, but the first couple of years when you won the 5-star, you didn't win anything after that. Like, and I wouldn't be shocked if Mirai was to win and lost to Sareee to build to the bigger Utami Sareee match, or the opposite, right? Utami wins the tournament, she has the match Sareee, and you build to Mirai versus Sareee at Summer Destiny, depending what you have up your sleeve by then, right? Everything's on the table as well in terms of if we look as far as Summer Destiny. So I'm trying to keep us a little contained because, like, you know, some people may be jumping. EO could possibly be back for another match by then. So there's a lot of fun with that. But I will say thank you to both of you for joining me to preview this show. So for everyone that wants to remember, Jamie picked Utami to defeat Bozilla. Me and Xavi picked Mirai to beat Bozilla. That only means that Kokimari is winning the tournament, and she is going to defeat Nanai Takahashi because predicting things these days has not gone well.
Buddy, I'll tell you what, she's not beating Nanai. Nanai's not having that.
No, Nanai would probably win if that were the case.
Actually, my pick is Sareee, the rookie. She's gonna actually speed up her debut.
Yeah, so I did want to say that real quick. When it comes to first Dream, I actually expect one of Mirai or Tommy to be facing Sareee on that show. Because that is Saree's debut, and I feel listen, I watched Sareee absolutely destroy Julia the other night. I'm ready to just give her the world title. Like, I don't know about you guys.
She's prime Rampage Jackson. All you don't give the world title.
I saw that clip. I was traveling to Wembley Stadium. I saw that clip. I was like, whoa, this means something to me. Wrestling might be back. You know, the whole of wrestling. Like, we might be in the glory days once again.
I think the best part of that clip is her pushing over Shino Omukai. Just body slam.
Like, Omukai is doing these great kicks, right, on Julia, and she just gets absolutely destroyed by Sareee, who then plants Julia and is dropping forearms.
Ground and pounds her like
I was like,
too.
I'm watching. I'm like, are we sure we want to wait till first Dream? Like, I'm ready now. Like this,
buddy. My dream is her entering this tournament.
The amount of tweets I saw of like, I just bought all the stock. Like, I think anyone that like just saw the first Dream announcement, right? It's like, oh, she's debuting at our big pay-per-view to kick off the year. I was like, oh, just buy the stock now. We're in.
Oh,
right.
When I found out she was a freestyle amateur,
shares, bonds.
When I found out she was a freestyle amateur, I was like, oh, she's Takashi Sugiura. That's what I like to see.
Takashi Sugiura. If she's like Takashi Sugiura, they just got, she's 17 years old. So Takashi Sugiura started pro wrestling very late. Yeah. That's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, that is kind of what I think going on. But I think the excitement is this isn't easy to predict. There's a lot of potential. I wouldn't even be shocked if Bozilla just won the tournament. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I feel like we should not count her out. I think we both look at Utami and Mirai as like the reasonable first people to win, right? You look at Yuzuki Aikawa as the first 5-star winner, obviously, once upon a time. So you kind of look at that. Nanai had won the second. So take that for what you will in terms of the top two in this company. You know, if you don't win the first year, second year is obviously in the conversation. Winner presumably faces Sareee whenever, probably first Dream. But that's the excitement. So before we get out of here, I'll ask you both to drop your plugs. Jamie, what are your plugs? Where can the people find you? And what do you have going on?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter down here at Jamie Ross WP. You can also, of course, go and follow Wrestle Purist. Go support Wrestle Purist. Of course, I'm always, writing stuff on the website. I'm now tweeting stuff, which is hilarious. I'm not really a poster, so I've now gained admin status. So if you see, a few bangers popping up, it might be me. Go subscribe to the Wrestle Purist YouTube channel as well. And for anything supporting Wrestle Purist, that's also supporting me by proxy. And of course, most importantly, on the Wrestle Purist YouTube channel is where you can now find the Gold Star podcast, where you will also find Scott of the 5-Star Joshi Show. He'll be there, of course, with our good friend 6-Star. We just had our most recent episode, also talking all things Dream Star Grand Prix, 5-Star, G1. So if you haven't caught that yet, go and check that out. And we'll be back hopefully for another episode of that soon. But that pretty much does it for me. It's always a pleasure to be on the 5-star. So thank you for having me, especially when it's Marigold that we're talking about.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for coming on. Obviously, love having you on. The Golden Gardens are blooming. It's exciting time to be a fan. So, we'll be back, obviously, with a Gold Star podcast very, very, very soon. But, Xavi, hit us with your plugs as we get on out of here.
So follow me at Xaviisms with 3 eyes on Twitter. You can click the link in my bio, go to my Substack. That's where you'll find most of my content. I got writer's block right now. After I willed myself to do the huge 20th anniversary series, I was like, all right, I'm fucking done. All right. But hopefully I can overcome that. But as far as audio content, I'm all over the place. Stardust Press Podcast. There you will find me and Beth doing traditional shows covering a variety of things. We most recently uploaded an episode covering the Summer Cold Shine Korakuen from Marigold. You should check that out. It's about an hour listen. We got in more in depth than I expected, but that's what the Golden Gardens does to you. It makes you get in your bag a little bit. Also on the 5-Star Network, later this week, maybe the beginning of next week. I don't know when it will exactly be uploaded. Me and Dylan will be doing another episode of the No Limit Wrestling Show where we will have Scott on to do a show about Arisa Nakajima, who recently retired. So be on the lookout for that. And I think that's all. Yeah, it's always good to be on here. People probably don't know that I watch Joshi or wrestling at all because sometimes I don't, but I do. So anytime I get to do something like this, I obviously jump at the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Xavi. Everyone can check out the Dream Star Grand Prix on Wrestle Universe. Majority of the shows will be live. I think only like 2 are going to be recorded and dropped probably a day or 2 later. So not too much of a wait. I'll be covering that right here on the 5-Star Joshi show. But of course, I have committed to doing even more of this YouTube thing because I guess I had fun with the 5-star, even though I had to do it 75 times a day. Yeah, it got a little tiring sometimes, but I'll present this real quick. It's youtube.com/Scott E Wrestling. I will be doing it for Marigold each and every tournament day. I'll do a review, so I'll get that up there. I have all the ones up there for the 5-Star Grand Prix. We'll have it all the way until the final day. So if you're interested in that, go subscribe now. It was a lot of fun to try to do something new. So hopefully if you're interested in that, you could go join me there. And of course, like I said, we'll be covering it here. I also have a preview for the show up on voiceswrestling.com. It'll just be, schedule, blocks, favorites, dark horses, and the matches to keep an eye out for if you are a general fan trying to get into Marigold. Hopefully that guide is helpful for you. So for Xavi, I'm Scott, and this was the 5-Star Joshi Show. Until next time, see ya.